Hey y'all, welcome back to Movement Link. So the question is, are you someone who gets it or are you just missing the point entirely? Your burpee can tell us everything. So here are the people who are just missing the point entirely. I call them the burpee monsters. What we've got is people, they know the burpee is get on the ground, get up off the ground, jump and clap. A lot of people have different standards of how you jump and clap. So we won't get into that right now. But what we see the burpee monsters do is they just do it with no thought and no attention to skill transfer technique, anything they've learned in any of the other exercises, and they're just going nuts. So what we see is on the toes, rounded back monsters, going to the ground, elbows flaring out. They're coming up, they're landing back on their toes with their knees forward. We got the back rounded, and then we typically have an overhead jump and something like that. And it's just, oh man, it is just so disgusting. So that's the true test, is remember, we want to build technique, and then we want to stress you out as we add intensity and speed and time and get you out of breath and do these things. And we want to complicate the movements. So the squat, the push-up, the jump, your posture, these are things we need to build, and if we've got gaps in those, we're going to see those gaps get amplified in the burpees. So if we do our push-ups here, you're going to do your burpees here. If we squat in these positions, we're going to see that in your burpee. Or if you haven't taken the extra time to add that layer of thinking in, and you're not relating how the burpee can utilize other strengths and other positions that you've already built up, we want all this stuff to contribute and work together to push you up instead of working on each thing individually. So real fast, what should the burpee look like? It kind of depends what you're doing. So there's a few different variations, but the foundations are pretty basic. Our feet are going to be nice and even as we do kind of a partial squat. Again, we could have different stances with this, but our squat position is going to kind of be the same. We're going to flop, working on getting that good shoulder stability. My belly button's drawn in, a nice tight arch position. I'm going to snap back to that flat-footed position. We like to jump and clap with the hands behind the ears because what that does is it looks just like a push-up position. And that gets my shoulder in a nice position just to get that movement pattern going. So we're thinking of just using what we know about the squat, the push-up, and the jump to put ourselves in good positions. If we're doing other things like we need to immediately run, we're going to land different. If we're surfing, we're going to land different. Maybe if we're immediately going into a jump, we might land on our toes so we can use the spring of our foot to come up. But if we're just going 50 burpees in a row, something like that, then we just want it to be nice and smooth. And we want your positions to mimic other positions that we use all the time. It all goes back to posture, squat, push-up, jump. And we got to start making these connections in our movement if we're going to get really good at that exercise, but also if we're going to get these things to transfer over to one another and out into the real world. Hope that helps. Talk to y'all soon.